Shocking truth, will the church be raptured at 3 a.m.? The answer haunts forever. When the clock struck 3, the air thickened with an otherworldly chill. It wasn't the normal cold of a winter's night, but something metallic, almost electric. The stillness in St. Augustine's church felt too heavy, as if the very bricks whispered secrets of forgotten prayers. Bats fluttered out of the ancient steeple, their silhouettes sharp against the trembling silver moonlight. Inside, the flickering candles cast grotesque shadows, as if the spirits of saints were debating their eternal fates. Could tonight be the night when the faithful would ascend, leaving the rest to wonder and dread? It all started weeks ago when whispers crawled through town. A sermon about the apocalypse, spoken by the new pastor, a man with piercing blue eyes and a voice that seemed to vibrate with authority. He warned of strange signs, blood moons, earthquakes and an unseen clock counting down. The townsfolk, usually busy with their mundane lives, felt an itch of fear, their hearts raced like colts let loose on an open field. They couldn't help but think about their own spiritual standings. Were they worthy? Inside, they felt the gnawing doubt, would they be left behind? That night, a group of believers gathered for a midnight prayer meeting. They arrived with trembling hands and anxious breaths, clutching rosaries as if they were lifelines. The congregation sat in a tight circle, faces pale and drawn, illuminated by candle glow and the ghostly light of the moon seeping through stained glass. Each person shared their dreams of the end, a world consumed by chaos, and earth split open. Panic crept in, and one woman's voice cracked as she recounted a vision of the rapture, describing glowing figures rising with ecstatic joy, while others screamed below, lost in despair. Suddenly, the loud thump of a heavy door echoed, silencing the room. The pastor had returned, but something felt off. He stepped in, an unnerving smile stretched across his face. "Are you ready?" he asked, eyes alight with an intensity that felt oddly exhilarating and frightening. The room gasped, hearts churning. Every eye fixated on him, holding its breath. It was clear they were being watched closely. The clock ticked louder, and the minute hand seemed to race, each tick feeling like a rapid heartbeat. "Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Just as the clock hit 3 a.m., a loud crash shook the very foundation of the church. The congregation jumped in fear. What could that have been? The pastor's expression turned serious, as if a veil had lifted, revealing something dark beneath. Footsteps, heavy and deliberate, echoed from the back. Some members exchanged nervous glances. A lump formed in many throats. They felt it, the pulse of something sinister creeping closer. What awaited them outside? What was the revelation that came with the witching hour? What followed would challenge their understanding of faith, fear, and the signs of the end. Would they become the chosen, or would their greatest fears unfurl before them in horrifying clarity? Only time and that dark clock would reveal the truth. Would they find salvation, or plunge into the unknown? A tense silence loomed in the church as the echoing footsteps approached. Each heavy tread felt like a countdown, the congregation's breath hitching in anticipation. The pastor stepped forward, his face taut, eyes wide as if the darkness brought more than just shadows. "What is happening?" whispered Anna, her knuckles white as she clutched her rosary tighter. She could feel the tremors in her chest, muscles tensing like a coiled spring ready to snap. The man beside her, Thomas, shook his head, beads of sweat forming along his brow. "I don't know," he stammered, glancing towards the corridor from which the sound emerged. "Maybe it's just the wind." But deep down, everyone knew that was true. The walls of St. Augustine's had seen enough storms to recognize the difference between a gust and a growl of something more sinister. The pastor raised a hand to calm them, but the reverberation of another crash rattled the wooden beams overhead, and the candles flickered violently. Shadows danced maniacally across the walls, and a chilling shriek pierced through the church, shattering the fragile tension. Murmurs spiraled into a crescendo of panic, and the flickering light of hope dimmed. "Stay together," the pastor barked, his voice booming over the chaos. "This is a test of your faith. Do not falter." But faith wavered like the candle flames. Behind the rising fear, a sinister power seemed to seep in, wrapping around their necks like invisible nooses. They felt the floor shift slightly beneath their feet, almost as if the very ground questioned their presence. Suddenly, the heavy doors at the back burst open. A figure emerged, shrouded in darkness, face obscured by shadow. As the congregation gasped, the figure stepped into the light, and a gasp swept through the crowd. It was him, the pastor, but different. The smile was gone, replaced by hollow eyes that seemed to absorb the light instead of reflect it. You thought you could escape. You're not worthy. Not yet. The voice was a growl, echoing off the ancient stone walls, each word thundering with dread. The original pastor, now wide-eyed and trembling, stepped back, confusion and fear washing over him. What are you? He stuttered. The darkness eradicated all traces of hope, and Thomas, clutching Anna's arm, could feel her trembling, her breaths quickened, each inhale sharp like the voice of the malevolent presence before them. Your prayers. They are nothing. The figure waved a hand, and the candles flickered violently as screams of despair erupted, like souls being torn from the earth. They have lost their strength, just like you. This is the moment where choices are made. Some shall rise, others shall fall. Anna felt the world spin. The very ground beneath her seemed to pulse with a chaotic energy. What do we do? She pleaded, voice shaking. How do we escape? Fight. The pastor shouted, summoning his remaining courage. This is not the end. Stand firm. But could they let faith conquer their fear? Would they have the strength to challenge this vile entity and determine their fate, or would they be swept away into darkness? As hope battled despair, the congregation stood frozen in a moment that felt suspended in time. The clock was ticking, each chime throbbing in their veins, urging them to act. The figure leaned closer, and silence fell once more, suffocating, waiting for the next move. Would they yield to the darkness and be consumed, or would they rise against it? Each second felt heavier than the last, leading to a breathless conclusion as the pastor's voice rang out. Reject this power. We've come too far to turn back now. But deep within, doubt lingered, clawing at their resolve. The darkness stirred, hungry for the slightest crack in their determination, and then it came, the final, blinding flash of light, bright, unforgiving, and uncertain. What lay ahead? Salvation or damnation? Only time would unearth that fate, and as the clock displayed its chilling finality, the question remained, who would be left standing when the dust settled? The blinding light engulfed the church, bathing the trembling congregation in a searing glow. For a brief moment, everyone shielded their eyes, caught between the clash of faith and fear. Anna felt Thomas squeeze her hand tighter, his fingers digging into her skin, anchoring her even as reality threatened to unravel. The darkness quivered as the figure, the twisted version of their pastor, flinched at the light's intensity. No. It howled, the shriek slicing through the air like a blade, reverberating against the stone walls. Shadows twisted and churned, attempting to retreat, but the oppressive presence refused to dissipate completely. Then, as suddenly as it appeared, the light extinguished, plunging the church back into an unsettling twilight. The congregation's eyes adjusted slowly, revealing chaos. Pews were overturned, shattered glass glimmered like fallen stars on the hardwood floor, and all at once, a low moan echoed through the air, a disembodied voice fading into a whisper of torment. Why do you hesitate? The shadowy figure hissed, its breath hot and heavy with malice. You think light can save you? Your fate is as thin as smoke. Each heartbeat felt like thunder in Anna's ears. Still clinging to Thomas, she scanned the room, faces reflected horror and shock. The pastor, the original one, stood frozen, his heart seemingly pounding louder than the creeping dread that enveloped them all. Anna's heart raced. We have to do something, she urged, voice trembling. We can't just stand here. The pastor gulped, then nodded, his expression shifting from fear to resolve. Gather your strength. This is a time for unity. With renewed determination, some began to form small circles, hands clasping together in solidarity. Anna felt a stirring of courage, a flicker of defiance against the lurking evil. What if we all pray together? She suggested. If we focus on our faith, maybe that power can drive it away. Skepticism lingered in the air, but desperation overrode doubt. Yes, proclaimed a woman near the front, her voice breaking through the clouds of uncertainty. We must fight with love, with faith. Join me. The flickering glow of the remaining candles ignited a small flame of hope. Voices wavered but rose together as everyone began to pray aloud, some reciting familiar verses, others simply pouring their hearts into the ether. Lord, guide us. Echoed through the space, rising and mingling with the threads of their beliefs. But the dark figure smirked, gliding forward on a rising tide of shadows. Foolish mortals! Do you not see that faith can be twisted? Your cries will not pierce this shroud. Anna felt a chill run down her spine, like icy fingers tracing her back. Still, she pressed on, voice louder now. No. We are stronger together. You cannot take us. As the words spilled from her lips, an electric current surged through the room and the shadows shrank, flickering as if in retreat. A wave of collective resolve washed over them, a fire igniting within each heart. Keep going. Thomas shouted, lifting his voice above the mounting swell. We will not be afraid. In that moment, an explosion of light erupted, brighter this time, illuminating not just the church but the soul of each person inside. For an instant, the darkness seemed to writhe, its form losing structure against the relentless brilliance. Hope surged as they continued to chant, a united force pushing back against the abyss, but just as triumph began to feel tangible, a deep rumble shook the ground beneath them, the sound of an entity fighting back, unwilling to concede. Panic erupted as the ceiling began to crack, debris tumbling down. Hold on. The pastor yelled, eyes wide. Whatever is coming, we can't stop now. With fear curling in her stomach, Anna realized the true confrontation was just beginning. Was this rising dread a sign of victory or prelude to something worse? In the midst of prayer, she felt an inkling of response rising within her. And then, in the midst of their cries, a whisper slipped through the chaos, a familiar voice creeping into her mind, your strength is unlimited, but at what cost? Each pulse of dread compounded the uncertainty hanging thick in the air. What sacrifice would need to be made to cleanse the darkness once and for all? As they held on, the question lingered, poised to unveil the truth they were yet to confront. Could they withstand this trial, or would they be swept away by the night? As the rumbling intensified, Anna quickly turned to Thomas, her breath hitching in her chest. What does that mean? What cost? Her mind raced with the implications, 1,000 fears darting through her thoughts. The pastor was still at the center, his voice resonating through the chaos, but Anna could barely focus on his words. The air felt thick, almost suffocating. Suddenly, a loud crack split the congregation's focus. A heavy piece of the ceiling came crashing down, narrowly missing a group huddled to the left. They screamed, scattering, their faith tested by the very building that had housed it. Light flickered wildly, as if the very essence of their prayers was being violently disrupted. Amidst the chaos, Anna felt a surge within her, a recognition of a deeper power. Keep praying. She shouted, her voice echoing against the stone walls, desperate to keep the unity alive. Don't let fear win. But the ominous figure laughed, a sound that sent cold trembling through every heart. You think your prayers can protect you? I can tear apart your unity with a mere thought. Shadows swirled, twisting around its form like a cloak of darkness that promised despair. The pastor clutched his Bible tightly, his knuckles turning white. Anna, we have to start channeling our energy. Find your focus, gather your thoughts. As she encouraged others to press forward, she felt a strange sensation wash over her. It was as if the very shadows were whispering secrets, seducing her with their promise of power. You can wield strength like this. Teased the voice, coaxing her to break free from the collective prayer. She shook her head. No. This wasn't right. But doubt crept in, nudging at her resolve. What if turning away for even a moment would grant greater strength? Was it truly a sacrifice worth considering? Her breath quickened. With each passing second, Anna fought the internal battle, simultaneously feeling the light within her grow dim against the growing darkness, and then, a surge of anger erupted inside her. No. She screamed, confronting the shadows with defiance. I will not be swayed by your deceit. The atmosphere shifted as strength poured into her words. She clasped Thomas's hand tighter, grounding herself. Pray with me. Focus. Help me drive this out. The congregation caught fire, voices blending into a crashing wave. Light to darkness. Hope to despair. Anna could see the light wavering, battling the shadows, the flicker of their prayers pushing back against the dark being. Each moment felt electric, a culmination of their collective spirit against evil as grip. Just as the tension built to a breaking point, another loud crack split the air, but this time the darkness responded differently. The shadow recoiled, eyes blazing with fury. You think you can escape? It hissed, shifting angrily, gathering itself for one final confrontation. Suddenly, Anna's heart began to ice over in fear as another whisper threaded through her mind. What are you willing to give? The world around her exploded into chaos, the shadows lunged. The remnants of the church trembled, and the congregation fell silent, their prayers a mere whisper now as they realized what was truly at stake. Her mind raced. What would she sacrifice not just for victory, but for the very soul surrounding her? With the ceiling about to fully collapse, and the shadows ready to strike hard, she faced an impossible choice, and then the figure began to laugh again, a haunting sound that chilled her to the bone. Choose wisely, little light, or witness the end of everything you hold dear. Anna clenched her fists, dread pulling in her stomach as she instinctively realized the depth of their struggle. The ultimate test was at hand. Would the price be too high? As the darkness surged forward, she braced herself, knowing she might soon find out exactly what her decision might cost them all. The shadows lunged, a roiling mass of blackness that surged toward Anna and her friends like a tide of despair. Adrenaline raced through her veins as she felt the overwhelming weight of their reality pressing down. The flickering lights above cast long, ghostly shadows on the walls, making the threat feel all the more real. She had to act, to make a choice before dread consumed her. Everyone, focus. Imagine the light. Feel it. Anna shouted, her voice trembling against the chaotic backdrop. The pastor's voice broke through, deep and resonant, bolstering her own. Together, we can push back what seeks to destroy us. We must not falter. But the darkness only laughed louder, the voice rich with malice. Together. You'll be shattered like glass, and I will gather every piece. Anna's pulse pounded harshly in her ears, drowning out the chant of their prayers. The deafening sound turned into a chorus of desperate beliefs clashing with the overwhelming evil. Do you know what I require? The figure sneered, its form pulsing, looming even larger. It's simple. You give me what you love most. But you already know that, don't you? The words slashed through her resolve. Love. Fear gripped her heart. What did she care about? She fought against the temptation to ponder. Her family. Her friendships. Thomas. No. She yelled, her fierce denial ringing through the crumbling church. We will not give in. We will not sacrifice ourselves for your dark desires. But it felt like trying to hold back a tsunami with bare hands. The shadows twisted and twirled around, wrapping themselves around her ankles like a vice. She struggled against them, but the tendrils only tightened, pulling her deeper into the darkness. From a distance, she could see the faces of her fellow churchgoers, terror reflected in their eyes. The unity they once shared began to fray. Panic surged, a wave of uncertainty crashing over them. Was the light strong enough to counter the abyss closing in? Stay with me. Anna cried, her voice hoarse. Don't let fear win. Don't let it take any of us. The echoes of her plea seemed to jab at the shadows. They recoiled slightly, releasing her just enough for her to catch a breath. Suddenly, an electric pulse surged within her, growing stronger, hotter, and unfamiliar. Something was awakening. Out of the corner of her eye, she glimpsed Thomas, steady and unwavering, the anguish on his face turned to determination. He locked eyes with her. We have to reach for it, Anna. Together. The pastor raised his Bible, a beacon of hope amidst the clamor, shouting verses meant to inspire courage. In darkness, the light shines brighter. Fight back. His faith anchored those around him, a fragile thread woven through the fear. As the darkness surged again, Anna felt the power crystallize within her. The weight of the choice enveloped her like a cloak. It was heavy and suffocating, but also full of purpose. She thought of her loved ones, the breadth of their struggle, the gentle kindness that each moment she had held. Now. She shouted. Focus on the love we share. Let it become our strength. Their voices erupted in unison, cradling that raw emotion, not just as a shield but as a weapon against despair. Slowly but surely, the light glimmered brighter, pushing against the encroaching shadows, but the figure responded with fury, screeching words of warning that echoed like thunder. This is your last chance. I will consume you all. Choose now. The pull between luminous hope and dark despair swelled around them, a moment teetering on the edge. With the very fate of the church, and their lives, hovering in balance, Anna felt breath hitch in her throat. What was the cost of their standing fight? As the shadows clawed toward them, blurring the line between salvation and damnation, she realized this confrontation transcended mere survival. It was about legacy, love, and sacrifice. Standing tall, Anna shouted again, fortified by determination. we will not yield. Not now, not ever. But the darkness is back, then prepare for what comes next, light. Your sacrifice has merely begun. The congregation held their breath, apprehension electrifying the air. What lay ahead would demand even more of them. The true battle was just beginning, and with it, the heart-wrenching question remained unanswered: what would they each be willing to give? The shadows convulsed and writhed, feeding off the fear radiating from the congregation. Anna's heart raced, each beat echoing the urgency of battle. She felt the warmth of her friends, their closeness a fragile shield against the encroaching dark. But she could see the doubt gnawing at their faces, the flicker of hopelessness threatening to extinguish their collective fire. Fight. We are stronger together, Anna urged, her breath barely steady as she took a step toward the edge of the shadow mass. The words were almost a desperate invocation, pleading with them to hold firm. With a jolt, the figure at the center of darkness twisted, its voice weaving through her left ear like cold smoke. You, Anna, are the key. You will sacrifice what you love most to save your precious little light. The air around her chilled as the figure shifted closer, its presence suffocating. Anna clutched Thomas's hand tighter, seeking solace in his familiar warmth. Don't listen to it, he shouted, voice shaking but firm. We can fight this. Suddenly, an intense flash of light erupted from behind the pastor, illuminating the church with a blinding brilliance. It pushed back the shadows momentarily, but the figure shrieked in rage, its form contorting grotesquely. You think light is your ally? It only casts a deeper shadow. As the light flickered, Anna shared a harrowing glance with Thomas. She knew they had to act fast. We need to channel the love, remember the moments that brought us here. The congregation began to murmur, uncertain yet drawn into Anna's intensity. She recalled the laughter of summer nights, her mother's warm embrace, and the feeling of belonging that soaked deep into her bones. Each memory acted like a chain link, binding the collective spirit, pushing against the encroaching void. Together. Anna shouted again, and with every ounce of will, they imagined their love layering around them like armor. A shimmering circle formed between them and the tendrils of darkness. The shadows hissed, sensing their resolve, but the figure, now more furious than ever, reached out with grotesque, claw-like hands, flinging shadows at them like javelins. You cannot hold this light, children. I will tear your bonds asunder. One by one, couples and families stumbled back, grappling with panic, caught between their fear and the growing light. Anna's heart sank at the sight. Stay. Hold on. She cried, her voice piercing the chaos. In the heart of the turmoil, Anna felt another pulse surge within her, hot and vivid, lighting an inner fire. It wasn't just their love, it was the unity and strength they created as they surrendered to their most profound connections. The light swelled, obliterating the shadows inch by inch. But the figure, seemingly rejuvenated by their struggle, drew closer, a dark specter whispering. Your sacrifice will be worth nothing. One will fall tonight, and with that, I will claim all. Time froze, Anna's eyes wide with horror as the weight of its words sank in. Sacrifice. Who might it take? She glanced at the pastor, his clenched fists trembled, she could see he was the pillar holding them upright. And then an icy realization gripped her: what if it was one of them? A panic gasp rippled through the crowd. What will it take? A voice quivered. As despair crept into the hearts of those surrounding her, Anna felt that despair creep into her own. What would they be willing to sacrifice? Would they dare to lose the ones they loved? Fight. Don't give in to the darkness. She cried out, desperation clawing at her throat, putting everything she had on the line. Find your light. But in the thickening shadows, a presence began to disconnect from the unity, moving forward almost like a sacrifice to the inevitable. The congregation could feel it, the weight of an unnamed choice pressing down on them. Just then, an explosion of darkness rippled through the room. Your truth will be revealed, Anna. You will see. It howled, sending shivers down her spine. And at that moment, a piercing scream erupted from the front of the church. Someone was stepping into the shadows on their own. Who was it? What was their sacrifice going to cost them all? Anna's heart raced as the scream sliced through the air, a haunting sound that echoed in the depths of her mind. The shadows quivered, momentarily distracted, but the figure in the center remained relentless. Your truth is a shadow, and only through pain will you see the light. It mocked, its voice dripping with malice. Who is stepping forward? Thomas whispered, his breath hitching in his throat. Fear crystallized in the congregation, a tidal wave of uncertainty crashing into them. Eyes darted around, searching for the brave or the foolish soul willing to confront the darkness head-on. Anna squinted, trying to catch a glimpse through the shadows. The flickering light revealed a silhouette. Was that Sophie? No, it couldn't be. Her best friend was trembling at the edge of the crowd. Then, from the swirl of darkness, a form broke free, stepping forward with purpose. It wasn't Sophie. It was the pastor. No. Anna gasped as the realization hit. He was moving toward the void, his resolve unwavering, his face set with grim determination. Pastor. Anna shouted, but her voice was swallowed by the murmurs of panic echoing in the church. People were crying out now. Some were pleading, others were shouting his name, but the pastor, eyes locked on the figure, barely heard them. He raised his hand, a gesture that commanded silence, a desperate attempt to rally them all. Enough. His voice boomed over the din. This is not the end. I will protect you. The shadows recoiled as he stepped deeper into the darkness, muttering a prayer, words swirling like wisps around him. Each chant pulled at Anna's heart, igniting fragments of hope amidst the suffocating dread. What are you doing? She screamed, fighting against the urge to rush after him. You can't. We need you. The figure grinned, a horrific smile revealing jagged teeth. He knows what must be done. Sacrifice opens the gate, and your light, little Anna, dims as you watch your precious shield fall. Anna's throat tightened, a physical pain blossoming within. The pastor was the keystone, and now here he stood, on the precipice of obliteration. Look around you, Anna. The shadow hissed, sweeping an arm toward the panicked crowd. Do you honestly believe that your unity can shield you from the truth? You must choose. The congregation quivered under the weight of its dark promise. Fear contorted their faces, and Anna felt their collective energy shift, faltering like dying embers in the wind. What truth? Anna shouted, fueled by desperation. What will you ask him to give? Everything, the figure sneered. Your pastor forsakes all for others. Or do they let him fall, abandon him to the darkest fate? A split second stretched into eternity as silence blanketed the room. Anna turned to the crowd. Faces turned toward her, wild with confusion and terror. She could see some clenching hands, clutching at hopes, some shaking their heads in disbelief. Your light is a flicker in the storm. The figure's voice rumbled like thunder, drowning the congregation in despair. But the choice is his alone. The pastor stood just outside the edge of light, resolute yet vulnerable. Do not follow me into the shadows. He called out, but his voice trembled just a bit too much. The uncertainty lingered, ready to unravel all. As shadows pressed in, the figures of friends and family around Anna seemed to dissolve, replaced by haunting reminders of what they stood to lose. We are stronger together. She shouted once more, pulling deep from within herself, but the words felt hollow as they fell against the dark. Will you let him go? Or will you sacrifice to save him? The figure snarled, each word dripping with temptation. The congregation held its breath as the shadows surged forward, their hunger palpable. Anna's eyes flared with determination, but dread pressed heavily on her chest. She could feel the tension, like an elastic band pulled taut. And then, a voice broke the silence, a soft, shaking whisper that resonated through the church. I will do it. Every head turned, eyes wide, hearts pounding. Who said that? Anna murmured, a frosty chill running through her veins. Was it fear that dissolved into acceptance? Or desperation blurring the lines of loyalty? Anna's mind raced. What lay ahead in the darkness they were about to face? The shadow figure laughed, triumphant, and Anna's heart sank. Time hung suspended as they stood on the edge of a cliff, a choice looming before them like an unyielding abyss. Each moment stretched, each beat of her heart a prayer for deliverance. What price would they pay for one life? And who would make that sacrifice? The whisper floated through the air, causing a tremor to ripple through the congregation. Every eye darted around, scanning faces for the source of those fateful words. Shadowy tendrils wrapped tighter around Anna's heart, squeezing until breathing felt like a struggle. Who will make that choice? The figure taunted, its voice sharp and slicing like glass. Who among you will step up and embrace the sacrifice? Or will you let your pastor face his doom alone? The pastor stood frozen near the darkness, his face pale as the truth sank in. The weight of every frightened gaze pressed down upon him, and Anna could see the crease of doubt forming on his brow. Was he wavering? Could this truly be the moment where everything splintered into chaos? A shiver ran through Anna. No. They had to stand together. They had to fight this darkness, no matter the cost. No one should have to bear this alone. She shouted, pushing past the rising tide of fear. If there is a choice, we make it together. The figure's laughter echoed like jagged thunder. Foolish girl. Unity won't shield you from the truth. What do you know of sacrifice? It gestured toward the pastor, its eyes glinting with malice. Yet here he stands, ready to offer everything for you. Stop. You don't know what you're talking about. Anna shouted, but inside, doubt snaked around her spine. Was the pastor truly willing to sacrifice himself? A voice, clear but quivering, fluttered from the back. I'll do it, a familiar face declared. Startled, Anna turned to see it was Sophie, her best friend, stepping forward, trembling but fierce, eyes ablaze with determination. What? No. Anna's voice cracked, panic flooding her. Sophie, don't. You can't. I can. Sophie insisted, her chin lifted defiantly against the shadows closing in on them. We don't know what will happen if we don't choose. Maybe this darkness will swallow us all. I can't let that happen. The murmur of the congregation pulsed, people whispering to each other, many looking as confused as they were afraid. Anna felt the swell of emotion. Anger surged through her, but it was tangled with admiration and bewilderment. Wasn't this the very sacrifice the figure demanded? Foolish bravery will lead to ruin. The figure screamed, lurching closer, shadows swirling dangerously around it. The pact must be made without hesitation. Or face the consequences. Anna stepped forward, her heart hammering. If sacrifice is what you want, then let us all decide together. We can't lose you, Sophie. You don't have to do this alone. Gasps filled the room, echoing off the cold, hard walls. She could see faces turning, people shifting closer, staring hard at the swirling darkness as if waiting for a crack to appear. Exactly. Shouted a voice, a man from the front row whose name Anna didn't recall. If we stand together, we stand a chance. What a waste, the figure hissed. You think strength in numbers can bind the darkness? You are merely pawns in this game. As it spoke, Anna felt a heavy pressure bearing down on her mind. Each word curled around her senses, wrapping tighter, forcing her to question everything. Was the pastor prepared to sacrifice himself? Would Sophie actually step into the void? No. Anna shouted again, frantic, as uncertainty swirled into dread, darkening her thoughts. You can't do this. There's got to be another way. The figure leaned in closer, its face distorted with menace. But the darkness will always demand payment. The question is, who will pay? Time froze. Every heartbeat echoed, a loud reminder of what was at stake. Tension stretched in the room, thick and suffocating. The congregation stood at a precipice, their decisions hanging in the balance like a fragile thread. In the end, sacrifice is a choice that must be made. Who will you offer up? The figure crooned, laughter spilling over like a sinister hymn. Anna's eyes darted to Sophie, then the pastor, then the crowd. Each face was a mask of fear and resolve. Shadows leaned closer, hungry for their choice, with a knot tightening in her throat. Anna knew they stood at the edge of everything. Would someone pay the ultimate price? Would it end with salvation, or was it the beginning of a nightmare? Are you ready to face the truth? The darkness beckoned, a tantalizing whisper that filled the still air. Anna's heart raced as she confronted the chilling question, what were they willing to lose to save one soul? As a silence enveloped the church, one thought bled into her mind. Could the darkness truly be all-consuming? Or was it the light of communal strength they needed? What dark choices awaited them in the shadows? Would they unite or fall? The moment hung in the air, a pendulum of terror and uncertainty. Each heartbeat seemed to resonate louder than the last, a cruel reminder of their precarious situation. Anna's gaze swept across the crowd, searching for strength among the frightened faces. Why was no one stepping forward? Why did it feel like they were drifting further toward the abyss when they should be rallying together? Enough. The figure roared, slashing through the tension. The darkness surged forward, its edges sharp, beckoning them closer to the void. Time is slipping through your fingers. You must decide. Anna felt her chest tighten. She turned to Sophie, a friend as courage shining like a beacon even in the face of despair. Would they really allow one person, it could be an innocent life, to brace against this horror alone? Could they truly stand by? Think about your families. Your friends. Anna shouted, desperation spilling from her lips. We all have something to lose. Do you really want this nightmare to take someone you love? A ripple of fear coursed through the congregation. Some raised their hands to their mouths, others exchanged terrified glances. Anna caught sight of a man in the back who shook his head as if he wanted to reject the truth. What if it's Sophie they're asking for? He called out, fear slicing through his voice. What if she goes and we're left with nothing? The figure laughed again, its voice a chilling symphony that danced mockingly through the air. Few have the bravery to offer themselves willingly. But someone must be chosen. And you will regret if that choice is made for you. Decide now or the darkness will take all. Panic spun tighter around Anna. No. We won't let that happen. She exclaimed, trembling hands balled into fists. We can do this together. We can face it. Everyone, we can fight. A murmur broke through the congregation, but it was smothered by the figure's sinister laughter. Foolish optimism. This is not a game of ideas. This is a reckoning. Choose or be cast into shadows. Anna felt the darkness closing in, chilling wind sweeping through the church. The scent of decay flooded her senses, and bile crept up her throat. It felt oppressive, like a weight crushing her emotions, her thoughts spiraling out of control. Suddenly, it struck her, what if sacrifice was not just about one person? What if there was another path, one that involved everyone facing the darkness together? Together. She cried out, her voice rising against the shadowy symphony. We don't just have to choose a single sacrifice. We can fight this as one. The pastor, still trapped in the figure's grasp, finally stirred. What if we give this darkness something else? His voice, though strained, held a hint of defiance that caught everyone's attention. What if we make a stand instead? What if we can bargain with this entity without sacrificing one among us? For a heartbeat, time stood still. Shadows paused, twisting uncertainly, as though contemplating the pastor's words. Interesting proposition, the figure mused, shadows flickering, intrigued but still menacing. But can you truly offer something the darkness desires? Do you even know what price must be paid? I don't know, the pastor stuttered, glancing nervously at the crowd. Beneath the surface, every heartbeat thudded louder, the congregation's fear simmering like a cauldron, ready to boil over. Anna glanced at Sophie, who looked just as bewildered. What could we possibly give? Sophie whispered, a tremble in her voice that echoed around the silence. The air thickened, and Anna's eyes widened, a thought tapping insistently at the back of her mind. What if it's not something we give it, but something we take back? She whispered, inspiration fizzling through her as real as the chill in the air. What if it's our hope? Our collective belief? The figure hesitated, a thin line of darkness contorting. Hope? It's a light I seldom see. But does your flame burn bright enough to challenge the shadows? With every ounce of courage she could muster, Anna stood tall. It must. Together, we have the power. The shadows wavered, and doubt tightened its grip on the figure as it tried to regain its strength. Do you dare? It taunted in a hiss. As a collective roar of determination ignited from the congregation, Anna felt the weight both of despair and of hope crash around her, intertwining. They were teetering on the edge of an unfathomable choice, but were they truly strong enough to face the darkness united? Will you join me? The pastor's voice rang out, emboldening the crowd. Will you stand up for each other? In that moment, the flicker of light amidst the shadows felt tangible. But could they hold on to it as the darkness loomed larger than ever before, as purpose distilled into fierce resolve? Anna's heart pounded louder than the shadows' threats. Could they confront the darkness head-on and turn the tide, or would the very light they embraced extinguish under the weight of the impending void? The crucial moment loomed, and they were striking an unsteady balance at the cliff's edge. What terrifying truths awaited them if they fell? A final surge of power erupted from Anna, igniting a flame within the congregation. We are not alone. She shouted, eyes wide, pulling strength from every soul around her. We reclaim our hope. We take it back. Together. The shadows shrieked, twisting and curling with rage as if they were caught in a wildfire. The pastor, emboldened by Anna's fearless declaration, raised his arms high. Together. We are united. Together, we resist. Their voices collided, a magnificent roar of defiance against the malevolent entity looming before them. The darkness rippled, feeling the weight of their collective hope and faith. Anna saw the flickering lights of faith rising in each person's eyes, uniting them against the shadows that had threatened to consume them. Focus on your light. The pastor commanded, his voice breaking through the dark storm as if guiding them through the tempest. Let it shine like a beacon. Love conquers all. As they poured their emotions into a powerful chant, every soul clutched what they held dear. Memories of laughter, love, and unity echoed in a glorious chorus, drowning out despair. It wasn't just the pastor or Anna who shone, everyone became a vessel, channeling their essence into something greater. The shadow figure snarled, writhing unnervingly, shaking under the brilliance of their light. You think this will save you? It howled, mocking their unity. You think you can stand against the abyss? You will fall. But the presence of fear began to retreat, whispers of doubt fading as they held their ground. Anna felt Thomas squeeze her hand tighter. We are going to do this, he affirmed, his voice a steady anchor. We want to let you take us, not today. The congregation pressed forward, energy swirling in an unstoppable tide. The pastor, radiant, shouted each verse with unyielding conviction, fueling the flames of their hope until light burst forth, pushing against the creeping shadows like a tidal wave cutting through darkness. Reject this power, he cried. With faith, with love, together we shall rise. And just like that, a brilliant flash erupted, enveloping St. Augustine's church in unearthly light. The shadows screeched, twisting and contorting, fighting against the onslaught. It was a mesmerizing sight. The congregation transformed into avatars of light, each candle flickering, brightening the dark recesses around them. Anna knew then, without a doubt, that their souls intertwined in this moment of pure collective love could eclipse any darkness. As the brilliance expanded, the edges of the shadows started to wear thin until, finally, with one last deafening wail, the dark entity began to collapse. It crumbled into nothingness, disintegrating under the power of their unity, and then, just like that, it was gone. Silence reclaimed the church, wrapping around its occupants like the softest blanket. The congregation stood, breathless, awash in the glory of their triumph. They blinked into the dimness, now void of malevolence, eyes glimmering with tears, relief, joy, disbelief, all mingling in an intoxicating cocktail of raw emotion. Did we do it? Anna whispered, shock trailing after each word. The pastor lowered his arms, overwhelmed and panting, but a radiant smile broke across his face. Yes, he breathed, his voice cracking, yes, we did. Cheers erupted. The congregation, now bonded in a way deeper than mere faith, erupted in gratitude, embracing each other and weeping with joy. Slowly but surely, hands clasped and arms outstretched, they created a ring of warmth and hope, their laughter echoing in the empty spaces where darkness lingered. Moments before, Anna found Thomas gazing at her, wonder painted across his face. You're my light, he murmured, brushing a strand of hair from her brow. You kept us together. No, we kept each other together, Anna smiled back, feeling lighter, free from the shadows that sought to trap her. As the night wore on, the church glowed not only with the remnants of the candles but with the warmth and love radiating from its parishioners. The darkness was gone, but its lessons remained. Thriving within each heart, a reminder that faith and unity forge bonds as strong as steel. And so, as dawn broke beyond the stained glass, streaking their sanctuary in gentle hues of pink and gold, the townsfolk realized they were more than a congregation, they were a family forged through fear, love, and triumph. Anna gathered her friends, now family in spirit, whispering gratitude amidst the cascading light. We will remember this moment, she declared, eyes shimmering with hope. We will cherish what we fought for. With hearts full, they stepped outside, ready to embrace the new day that awaited, a day that would always belong to those who had stood against the shadows and emerged into the light. As they walked into the fresh morning glow, the warmth cocooning them in tranquility, a promise burned in their hearts, they would never forget the strength they found within and among each other. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and help us grow. Flood the comment section with your reactions and theories about this incredible ending, and don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your support matters, and only true fans understand the importance of standing with us through your actions.